Welcome to District Command Central, your go-to source for the latest news and updates on the Washington Commanders. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a play. It's wild how fast things can change in the NFL. 1 minute, you're a late-round draft pick just hoping to make the roster. The next, your name is trending across social media. Your jersey is flying off the shelves, and every fantasy football manager in America is scrambling to add you to their lineup. That's exactly what's happening right now with Washington Commanders running back Jacory Krosky-Merritt, a name that, just a few months ago, barely registered with casual fans. But after his explosive breakout performance against the Los Angeles Chargers, everyone in the league is paying attention. And trust me, this story isn't just about one good game. It's about resilience, hunger, and a mindset that screams, "I'm not done yet." Now, if you've been following Washington closely, this rise doesn't come as a total shock. Commanders fans have been whispering for weeks that something special was brewing. They saw the flashes in training camp, they saw the burst in preseason, and they knew. This kid wasn't just another 7th-round pick. Taken 245th overall in the 2025 NFL Draft, Krosky-Merritt entered the league with zero fanfare and a mountain of doubters. But from the moment he touched the field in Ashburn, Virginia, it was clear he was built different. The energy, the effort, the chip on his shoulder. You could see it in the way he ran, the way he hit holes, and the way he refused to go down after first contact. Fast forward to Week 4 against the Chargers, and the world got a front-row seat to the Jacory Krosky-Merritt show. 14 carries, 111 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, and every single yard felt earned. This wasn't some fluke stat line padded against a tired defense. This was domination. He ran angry. He ran smart. He ran like a man who's been told, "You're not good enough," one too many times. And as the game went on, you could feel the Commanders' sideline feed off his energy. Every cut, every stiff arm, every touchdown felt like a message to the entire league. The Commanders have found something real here. But here's where it gets even better. Jacory isn't getting caught up in the hype. After the game, while fans and analysts were busy anointing him as the next big thing, Krosky-Merritt's response was pure humility and focus. "I can make plays when my name is called," he said. "Obviously, I've got a lot of work to do. I still feel like I've got a lot more I want to show." That's the mentality of a pro who's in it for the long haul, not just a viral moment. He's not satisfied with one big performance, and that's exactly why people inside the Commanders organization are so high on him. You've got to understand, this dude's journey has been anything but easy. Most players who go through what Krosky-Merritt went through would have quit long before draft day. When the NCAA revoked his eligibility after just one game into his transfer to Arizona, his football dreams could have easily crumbled. Instead, he hit the gym. He kept showing up. He joined the scout team. He found ways to contribute even when nobody was watching. That kind of grind, that kind of character, doesn't just disappear once you make it to the league. It's baked into who he is. That's what Commanders general manager Adam Peters saw when he used the team's final pick of the draft on him. It wasn't a gamble. It was a calculated bet on a player with heart, discipline, and the hunger to outwork everyone else in the room. And now, that bet is paying off big time. But the craziest part? This is still just the beginning. Krosky-Merritt is barely scratching the surface of what he can become. He's learning the playbook, gaining chemistry with the offensive line, and adjusting to NFL speed. And he's already making defenses look silly. Imagine what he'll do once he gets more reps, more confidence, and more responsibility in the offense. Head coach Dan Quinn and offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury have to be grinning every time they watch film. This kid's vision and patience are rare for a rookie, especially one who wasn't even supposed to see this kind of workload early in the season. When you listen to Krosky-Merritt talk, you can hear the maturity that separates him from other young players. He's not talking about stats, he's not chasing endorsements, and he's not trying to be flashy. What he wants is to earn respect from his teammates, from the league, and from himself. He wants to become a foundational piece of the Commanders' future, a name that opposing defenses have to game plan around. And based on what we've seen so far, that goal doesn't sound far-fetched at all. What's really cool is how this whole story fits into Washington's larger picture. The Commanders have been desperate for playmakers who can change games, for guys who can ignite the offense and give the fan base hope. Krosky-Merritt is doing exactly that. He's bringing excitement back to FedEx Field. You can feel it in the stands, in the online chatter, even in the locker room. Veterans are feeding off his confidence. Young players are seeing what hard work can produce. And suddenly, that Washington backfield looks a lot deeper, a lot scarier, and a lot more unpredictable than anyone expected before the season started. You also can't help but think about how perfect this storyline is for a franchise trying to rebuild its identity. The Commanders have been through so many ups and downs over the past few years. Ownership changes, coaching shakeups, culture resets, and now, they've got a young, hungry, homegrown talent who embodies everything the new era is supposed to represent. A seventh-round pick turning into a star? That's the dream scenario for every front office in the league. And if Krosky Merritt keeps producing like this, he won't just be a feel-good story. He'll be a cornerstone piece in Washington's offensive evolution. But before we crown him the next great Commanders running back, let's take a step back and appreciate his mindset again. Jacory knows exactly where he stands. He knows the league will adjust, defenses will key in, and the honeymoon phase will end fast. He's not under any illusion that this will be easy. That's why he's spending extra time in the film room, asking questions in meetings, and constantly pushing himself in practice. Every quote, every action from this kid screams accountability. He's not trying to be a highlight reel. He's trying to build a career. And look, when a player like that has talent and attitude working together, you get something special. You get those guys who go from being overlooked to being unstoppable. You get those players who make everyone else around them better just by setting the standard. And if Krosky Merritt stays on this trajectory, he could become one of those stories people talk about for years, the late-round steal who turned into a franchise star. The kind of player who makes scouts all over the league go, how did we miss on him? So what's next for Jacory Krosky Merritt? That's the question everyone's asking. After that breakout performance, he's got the attention of every defensive coordinator in the league. But if you listen to him, he's not chasing headlines. He's chasing improvement. I still feel like I've got a lot more I want to show, he said, and that line right there tells you everything you need to know. He's not looking backward at what he's done. He's looking forward at what he can still become. And that's what makes this story so compelling. Because when a player has the talent, the humility, and the drive all working in sync, you can't help but root for them. You can't help but want to see how far they can go. The Commanders have found a gem, and the league better take notice. Because if this momentum keeps building, Jacory Krosky Merritt's rise could turn into one of the best rags-to-riches stories in franchise history. From undrafted dreams to NFL touchdowns, from NCAA setbacks to national headlines, this is just the beginning of a journey that feels like it's destined for greatness. Washington might have found its next big star, and Jacory Krosky Merritt isn't just ready for the spotlight. He's ready to own it. If you're enjoying the coverage, make sure to smash that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts on the Commanders' latest moves. We want to hear from you. In a move that has sent shockwaves across the NFL and left fans of both Washington and the league in general scrambling to process the news, the football world woke up this morning to what can only be described as a late-night bombshell. Chase Young, the explosive defensive end who has been one of the most feared pass rushers in recent years, is reportedly heading back to Washington in what insiders are calling a lightning-fast trade. The news, initially whispered in the corridors of the league and then amplified by a series of cryptic social media posts, has already ignited feverish speculation about what this could mean for both the franchise he's leaving and the team he's returning to. Sources close to the situation have remained tight-lipped about the finer details, but the consensus is that this is more than just a routine trade. It's a statement, a power move, and potentially the start of a chain reaction that could reshape the defensive landscape of the NFL as we know it. For those who may not remember, Chase Young first burst onto the NFL scene with Washington, turning heads with his combination of size, speed, and raw athleticism. Drafted as a generational talent, he quickly became the cornerstone of the team's defensive ambitions. His rookie season was nothing short of sensational, earning him accolades, awards, and a reputation as a nightmare for opposing quarterbacks. However, after a series of injuries, contract negotiations, and off-field speculation, Young eventually moved on, leaving fans and analysts to wonder if his time in Washington had permanently come to an end. And now, seemingly out of nowhere, the universe has thrown a curveball that no one saw coming. To see Young returning to the place where he first made his mark feels almost cinematic, like a blockbuster plot twist in the middle of the NFL season. The timing is impeccable or chaotic, depending on who you ask, and the ripple effects are already being felt across locker rooms, front offices, and social media feeds alike. Rumors about the trade began circulating late last night, initially dismissed by some as the kind of clickbait speculation that tends to dominate the quieter hours on sports Twitter. Yet, as the hours ticked by, multiple sources began confirming the chatter, each one adding pieces to the puzzle. While the exact trade details have not been officially released, insiders suggest it involves a multi-layered exchange, potentially including draft picks and possibly even players whose futures in their current squads were uncertain. This kind of rapid, high-stakes maneuvering is exactly the sort of move that separates ordinary front offices from the bold and visionary ones. Analysts are already dissecting the implications. Some argue that Washington may have sacrificed long-term flexibility to secure an immediate impact player, while others contend that bringing Young back into the fold signals a renewed commitment to defensive dominance, a statement that Washington is ready to shake the league to its core once again. What makes this trade even more fascinating is the context surrounding both Young and the team's current trajectory. Washington has been quietly building a roster that blends emerging young talent with established veterans, and Young's return could be the missing puzzle piece that elevates the squad from competitive to downright formidable. Fans are naturally thrilled at the prospect of seeing one of their favorite players in the iconic burgundy and gold uniform once more, but there's also a sense of intrigue, because reintroducing a high-profile player to a team comes with challenges. Chemistry, coaching schemes, and the pressure of expectation all factor into how successful this reunion can be. Yet, if there's one thing Chase Young has proven time and again, it's that he thrives under pressure, turning high-stakes moments into opportunities for brilliance. The question now is whether this second chapter in Washington will be a redemption story, a triumphant return, or something far more unpredictable. On the flip side, the team that is letting Young go, while unnamed in these initial reports, is reportedly navigating a delicate balancing act of its own. While losing a talent of Young's caliber is never easy, the trade appears to be a calculated decision rather than a forced hand. Some insiders hint that the move allows the outgoing team to address other positional needs, clear cap space, or pivot their strategy in ways that could ultimately strengthen their roster depth. In other words, while Washington gains a headline-grabbing star, the other side is potentially leveraging the opportunity for longer-term gain. In the world of the NFL, where decisions are often scrutinized to the millimeter, the nuances of these trades are endlessly debated, and every fan and analyst has an opinion about who wins and who loses. Early reactions on forums, podcasts, and YouTube channels already illustrate the polarized reception, with some celebrating the homecoming of a beloved figure and others questioning the wisdom of parting with a player of Young's extraordinary skill set. Meanwhile, the narrative surrounding Chase Young himself has taken on almost mythic proportions. Ever since his debut, Young has been seen as a disruptor, a player who can alter the momentum of a game with a single play. Whether it's a perfectly timed sack, a forced fumble, or a presence that commands double teams and attention from offensive coordinators, Young's impact goes far beyond the stat sheet. That intangible element, the aura, the fear factor, is something Washington is clearly betting on recapturing. Imagine the roar of the home crowd as Young lines up across from a rival quarterback, the knowledge that this is a player who has made a career out of chaos and disruption. That alone fuels storylines, marketing narratives, and the kind of excitement that drives ticket sales and social media engagement through the roof. In other words, this is more than a trade. It's a storyline that practically writes itself, one that will dominate highlight reels and discussion threads for weeks, if not months. Speculation is now running wild about how Washington will integrate Young back into their defensive scheme. Will he be immediately installed as the centerpiece of the line? Will his presence allow the team to experiment with blitz packages, rotation strategies, or creative formations previously unavailable? Analysts are poring over game tape, attempting to predict how his skill set can be maximized while also considering potential injury risks, adaptation periods, and the psychological dynamics of returning to a former team. There's also the human element. Teammates, coaches, and staff all have to adjust to the reintroduction of a player who has experienced the league through different lenses since leaving. The locker room chemistry, while largely invisible to outsiders, can make or break even the most talent-laden lineups, and everyone involved will be aware that expectations are sky-high. In some ways, the gamble of bringing back a superstar who once departed mirrors the larger gamble of the NFL itself. High risk, high reward, and the possibility of legendary outcomes or bitter disappointment. Adding to the intrigue are the social media reactions and the whisper campaigns that typically accompany blockbuster trades. Within hours of the news breaking, hashtags related to Chase Young and Washington were trending, and fans began sharing a mixture of nostalgic photos, highlight clips, and speculative commentary about the future. Pundits debated whether this move signals an all-in approach for the current season, a strategic recalibration, or simply a high-profile statement meant to galvanize a fan base that has long craved a return to prominence. Every post, every tweet, every insider hint feeds into a feedback loop of rumor, analysis, and anticipation, illustrating just how much a single trade can ripple across the collective consciousness of the sport. For Washington fans, it's a moment of elation, a narrative reunion of sorts that evokes the highs of Young's rookie campaign, while opening the door to entirely new storylines and possibilities. Of course, with any trade of this magnitude, the skepticism and scrutiny are inevitable. Critics point out the potential pitfalls, injuries, integration issues, and the pressure of expectations that can weigh heavily on a returning star. They question whether Washington has assessed all the contingencies or if this move is driven more by emotion, optics, or the desire for instant impact. Conversely, supporters argue that bold moves are precisely what differentiate championship-caliber organizations from also-rans, and that bringing back a player of Young's caliber is both a strategic coup and a signal of intent. That Washington is not here to participate, but to dominate. The dialogue surrounding the trade will almost certainly continue for weeks, if not the remainder of the season, with each game providing a new lens through which to interpret the wisdom of this move. At the heart of it all, what makes this trade truly electrifying is the story potential. Sports narratives thrive on moments that feel larger than life, on arcs that resonate beyond the field. The return of Chase Young to Washington ticks every box: the prodigal player, the homecoming, the mix of risk and promise, the potential for redemption and glory. It's a narrative that invites discussion, debate, and dreams, and one that will undoubtedly dominate highlight reels, podcasts, and sports media commentary for the foreseeable future. For Washington, the hope is that Young's return will catalyze a season filled with standout performances, playoff aspirations, and memorable moments that fans will recount for years. For the league, it's another reminder that in the NFL, surprises are always lurking, ready to transform the familiar into the extraordinary at a moment's notice. As the dust settles and teams begin to recalibrate their strategies in response to this shocking trade, one thing is abundantly clear: the return of Chase Young to Washington is more than just a transaction. It's a cultural event within the sport, a narrative bombshell that combines skill, drama, and high-stakes ambition. Fans will be watching every snap, analysts will be dissecting every formation, and the league itself will be adjusting to the seismic implications of a defensive powerhouse returning to a familiar battlefield. Whether this story unfolds as a tale of redemption, dominance, or unforeseen complications, it is already etched into the annals of NFL lore as a moment that nobody saw coming but everyone is talking about. And as the cameras roll, the microphones hum, and the stadium lights prepare to illuminate yet another chapter in this unfolding saga, one truth stands out. When it comes to the NFL, and particularly to a player like Chase Young, the night is never too late for a bombshell, and the dawn never too early for a headline that changes everything. Thanks for tuning into District Command Central. Make sure to subscribe and follow us for all the Commanders news you need. Until next time, keep the faith and hail to the Commanders.